Hey you guys. So today's video, I want to talk about Hellblade 2. And the reason I want to talk about Hellblade 2 specifically is because I see a lot of people in the Xbox camp really hyping up Hellblade 2. And I think that's fine. It's warranted. Hellblade 2, for all it's worth, all the trailers that we've seen, it looks like a really cool, interesting game with an ambient environment, dark themes. Anyone who's played the first one knows that, Ninja Theory knows how to make good and compelling games. Not to mention, it's backed by the huge pockets of Microsoft. So, why do I want to talk about Hellblade 2? And I think the reason I want to talk about this game is because I think it's getting a little overhyped for a game where everyone is saying, we haven't even seen really lengthy gameplay of this game. It's not just cutscenes. It's not just Senua walking around doing the whole voice thing. For us to not really see the actual combat of the game yet, I think it's a little premature for everyone to say Hellblade 2 is gonna be a game for Xbox. And I feel like we see this with just about all these Xbox games nowadays. When Xbox Series X and S was launching, Halo Infinite was going to be the reason why you went into Xbox again. And then Halo Infinite got delayed, and then it finally released. And again, people were hyping it up when the game was, the game felt right. The game felt like good Halo. But then as time ran on, and they didn't have any content for the game, again, it didn't do what Halo was supposed to do. What Halo was done in the past. Then last year, Starfield was going to be the game to end all games, the game of the generation, the Skyrim in space. Bethesda is back with Starfield. And that was going to be the, Xbox's game. Their, reason why they've proven, Game Pass works, Xbox is a heavy hitter in the gaming sphere, etc. And not that Starfield is a bad game, it's just not the game touted to be the game of the generation. It's not Skyrim in space. It didn't move the conversation in the way that Xbox needed it to. And I think, Xbox fans need to stop doing this. They build this pedestal for these games to stand upon, and it puts unnecessary pressure on a game to succeed. I think the conversation around Starfield was as negative as it was because it was touted to be, the Skyrim in space, the game of the generation. Now everyone is claiming Hellblade 2 is going to be, Xbox's God of War, Xbox's, big single player game. And don't get me wrong, Hellblade 2 looks amazing. It's one of the reasons why I'm really interested in Xbox this year. Games like Hellblade 2, games like Avowed, they look like games that I would be interested in. I wouldn't go as far to say that they look like the God of War of, Xbox. They don't look like, this is what Xbox needed, right? And I think a lot of people again are building up this pedestal for Ninja Theory to sit on, for Hellblade 2 to be upon. And I feel like, again, it's just a little unwarranted with the fact that every time we see a trailer of this game, I don't think people are necessarily as wowed as they are when they see other trailers. Now, obviously, there's a developer direct that's going to come out and it's going to show like the development process behind Hellblade 2, etc. And I think that's really cool, and I like to see that. But I think what everyone is missing is, that lengthy gameplay that shows us exactly what we're going to be doing when we play this game. And fortunately, right now, or unfortunately, right now, we've only seen, a lot of cutscenes that show a lot of this, what we come to expect from Hellblade, from the original one. And I think people want this to be more than what it's gonna be. I think people want Hellblade 2 to be this, action this third person action adventure game that tells this crazy narrative that everyone can get behind. And people who flock to PlayStation games because of their third person single player narratives are gonna flock to this game, and it's gonna, pull PlayStation fans into it. It's gonna pull mainstream fans into this game, and I just don't see that being the case. Anyone who played Hellblade, the first one, knows that this is a very interesting title. It's doing a lot of really cool gimmicks around, the whole voices and like the whole, delusions and everything like that, and it's really really cool. It's really really interesting. It's definitely a unique title, but I wouldn't go as far as to say this is Xbox's, killer app. I mean, again, obviously the game hasn't released yet. We haven't had previews or anything like that. And I'm saying it's okay to be hyped for a game. The problem with Xbox though is they put all their eggs in a basket, right? They put all their eggs in a basket and say this is going to be the freaking game. Look out! I see some people saying Hellblade 2 is going to be game of the year for 2024. Again, why are we saying this? Maybe you can judge it based off of the original Hellblade. Sure. I don't think the original Hellblade is as strong as a God of War would be for an Xbox. I think people need to, really, really dial back some of their, some of their exaggerated, things that they're saying about this game. Again, they want this to be the bigger, the best, third person action adventure game that the world has seen. And, graphically, the game looks amazing. Again, I think a lot of that is going to play into the fact that this is going to be a really, really interesting title for Xbox, and I'm pumped for it. But again, stop putting games on these pedestals. Luckily for Hellblade 2, it is, going into the developer direct with a bunch of other titles that a lot of people are interested in. Things like Avowed. Obsidian is a development studio that honestly is doing a lot of really really cool things. Obsidian is a really interesting development studio. Um, I think when we got Pentiment a while ago from them, that definitely reminded people how great their narratives are, how creative this studio could be. Some people even say they're doing Bethesda better than Bethesda does Bethesda, and that's a cool thing to say about Obsidian. I think Avowed is going to be, a great game based off of Obsidian's, based off of their works in the past, right? Aside from those two games, you have Indiana Jones, right? You have the Indiana Jones game being developed by Machine Games, my bad. And Machine Games is a team that, again, very, very talented. We love the Wolfenstein series. They do good things. So I think instead of putting the narrative all on Hellblade 2 to deliver for Xbox, I think it's smart to say that they have a bevy of titles that are all going to be great. Do they all need to be, Starfield game of the generation level? Do they need to sell the Xbox console like Halo did or was supposed to? No, I don't think so. I think if you do the 1, 2, 3 punch of amazing games that released this year that aren't necessarily the mainstream games that aren't necessarily the PlayStation type titles or the big AAA games, I think that's where, the Xbox fan base is kind of missing the mark. When Phil Spencer says that he wants his teams to just develop games that they're interested in, he's really, really banking on the creativity of these studios to really shine through in the end. I think he wants Game Pass to be a unique experience that you can't really emulate from a PlayStation studio, from a Nintendo. Because Nintendo and PlayStation have their own ways of developing games. And I think the idea with Xbox's Game Pass is that you let your teams kind of work independently, individually from a structure, and then their creative minds can kind of come up with, again, unique gameplay ideas. Um, when you look at the first Hellblade plays nothing like a lot of games that I really experienced. The puzzles are unique. The story and the atmosphere is very unique. The voices was really really cool. Again, it wasn't my favorite game of all time. I think it's a cool game, um, but I don't think it's like you know as as impactful. I think for the general masses. And I don't think Hellblade 2 is gonna do much to differentiate itself from the original. I think it is just gonna be Hellblade with a bigger budget, more bigger scope fights, better graphics, better mocap, etc. But I don't think it's gonna be the game of the generation. I don't think they're gonna make Senua into Kratos or anything like that. I just don't see it. I don't see it for Avowed. I don't see it for Indiana Jones. I don't see it for any other individual titles separately. But together, they can make a really, really awesome, one, two, three punch of great games that release for Xbox. So I guess I just kind of want the conversation for Xboxes, 2024, not to just be Hellblade 2 is going to be the game we've been looking for, the game to sell consoles. It just won't be. And I think if we temper expectations, when the game does deliver and the game is amazing, it'd be awesome. It'd be way more awesome, to kind of like celebrate this game when it achieves more than it's expected to versus Starfield, where we all think it's gonna be a 9 out of 10 game, and then it releases to an 83 Metacritic score. When a lot of people are saying it's not, Bethesda's best work, probably one of their weaker titles. Um, I don't think Starfield would have been again as negatively impacted by its 83 Metacritic score because that's still a good score. I don't think it would have been as impacted by that had it not been touted up to be this game of the generation. Anyways, at this point I'm circling back just to sum it all up. Hellblade to temper expectations. It does look like a really cool and amazing game. I'm excited for it. It's fine to be hyped for it. Just don't say things like Xbox is banking on Hellblade 2. Xbox needs Hellblade 2. No, Hellblade 2 is just going to be another awesome title within the Xbox's lineup of games this year, alongside Avowed, alongside hopefully, we don't have any Redfall situations this year, and things should be swimming for Xbox. Ultimately, I'm excited for the future of Xbox games, not just one particular game, but a whole bevy of like things that they've announced. All that being said, those are my final thoughts on this topic. I look forward to hearing more of Hellblade 2. I look forward to them really convincing me that this is gonna be, big, big hitter for Xbox. And then if it doesn't, then that's fine too. As long as they make a good game, that's ultimately all I really care about. I'm gonna end it here. Do me a favor, like the video. If you guys like the video, please consider subscribing because that does help us out tons. Let me know down below your thoughts on Hellblade 2 or the Xbox Developer Direct coming up. With all that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next video.